But without further ado, I'll go ahead and start with some introductions of myself, the rest of the Game and Fish staff, and then last but not least, our wonderful guest speaker for the evening. My name is Jennifer Morgan. I'm the Hunter Education Coordinator for the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish. I'm based out of the Albuquerque office. And I will pass it over, since this is Brady Bunch style, I'll pass it over to Stephanie, and you can introduce yourself.
Hey everybody, I'm Stephanie. I am the Assistant Hunter Education Coordinator out of Albuquerque office. I'm super pumped to be here. I even see some names that I recognize from Arizona Quail Forever in here. So that's pretty cool. We get all of these people. Johnny, you're gonna have to come hang out with us more often. Because this is a great turnout. I'm pretty pumped. And I'm gonna mimic what Jennifer said. And yeah, if you can turn on your cameras, I really enjoyed to see what you guys are doing in the background. I know one time there was somebody cooking dinner and I was really impressed with how she could multitask. So turn on your cameras if you can. I love to see some faces, meet new people.
Okay, Colleen.
Good evening, everybody. It's so good to see kind of a full group of ladies joining us tonight. So thank you for joining us from all over New Mexico and parts of the country. But my name is Colleen Payne. I'm the Public Information Specialist for the Department of Game and Fish based out of Las Cruces, and excited to have everybody here and Johnny joining us tonight.
Absolutely. And Tristiana?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, again, thank you for joining us. And Happy New Year. It's so exciting to see everybody. I'm so excited to be out hunting and fishing and enjoying the outdoors so early in 2023. So thank you for joining us. I'm Tristiana Bickford Carroll. I am the Assistant Chief of Education based out of our Albuquerque office and live in Santa Fe. So thank you all, and thank you for being here, Johnny.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's super cool. I see in a chat, Cameron from Los Alamos has a super cool photo to share with us, but I will, we'll hold off on that. We'll do a teaser and we'll jump in with Johnny. And then, yeah, that's so awesome. So incredibly awesome. So let me go to my screen share. And everybody or somebody give me a thumbs up that you can see my slideshow. Thank you. Awesome. And Johnny, so everybody, you've already kind of had a semi-introduction to our wonderful special guest, Joni Marie. She comes to us from Arizona this evening. And as you guys are able, we'll be monitoring the chat. And then I'll have the rest of the staff be monitoring everybody's little, what do I want to call these, thumbnails, I guess, to keep track of any hands up or any other interactions. So, but I would like to introduce Joni Marie and take it away, Johnny.
Hi. So I'm so glad that everybody came out. I've never done a Zoom thing like this before. I've talked in front of groups before, but not on a Zoom. And I can't seem to figure out how to get the little thumbnails so I can see all of your faces, but it will show me you if you talk or you ask a question or something. So sorry that I'm kind of retarded with Zoom, but I'm really happy to be here and excited to share some knowledge and hopefully answer some questions.
Great. So I think, Johnny, a lot of our ladies that might be on the session this evening, I know several of them, I think we're all part of some of the same social networks online or through social media, but I think there are a lot of folks who might not know who is Joni. Like, here we are talking about her like for weeks, but who is she really? So, so basically, how did you get started hunting and fishing and truly enjoying what you love to do outdoors?
So I was born and raised in Alaska, and my family was very outdoorsy. I was raised on a commercial fish site, so
I think you might have froze. She might be having some technical difficulties. I know that before we even got on session this evening, they were having some snow over where she lives. So I'm wondering if that's affecting her connectivity. So stand by, everybody. And I will see if I can't give her a shout.
While Jennifer is getting her on the phone, Stephanie, do you want to talk about, give everybody a sneak peek to February's session? And I know a lot of people are from out of state, but I still think it'll be cool.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We're going to be hosting the next Lady Social Hour in person. I don't know, is this the first one that we'll be doing in person?
Yeah, first one. We will be able to do it hybrid as well. So anybody wanting to join us from farther away can, but
yeah, so this will be the first one in person that I think that, you know, you'll have ever done. It'll be at Nexus Brewery on, sorry, let me grab the date real quick. It's on a Wednesday instead and not a Tuesday because of their availability.
The 8th?
I believe so, yes. Let me look. Yes, the 8th. And we're going to do a segment on how to apply for the draw, and we're going to help you apply for the draw. So we highly, if you can make it, bring your laptops to the brewery, your phones, your iPads, whatever you can. And we're going to kind of go over strategies on how to apply and how to be more successful in actually drawing a tag. And I'm going to talk about a little bit about what I do and how I apply for different things.
Yes.
And like Tristana said, we're going to do it dually, so it'll be recorded as well, so you guys can hop on. It'll be like a Zoom pretty much as well if you are far away and you can't make it to Albuquerque. So that'll be super cool. I'm super pumped about it because I like to get out instead of being in front of the computer. So I'm certainly excited to see some of your faces.
Well, I can see what I could see before. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay.
I think we have Joni. At least she's talking on the phone. I can see that.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. So I live out in the country, number one, not in town. So I'm on satellite Wi-Fi. And then it's snowing in Arizona really bad. So I'm hoping that my Wi-Fi works enough that I can stay connected with you guys.
Okay, you're good to go.
Okay. Could you hear me say that? I was not sure.
Yes.
Okay.
So
right.
Who's Joni? Take 2.
Okay, so I'm not sure how much of that you got, but anyways, I have an outdoor background, an outdoorsy family, and so I'm not sure where it cut off, but I'll just skip to adulthood, I guess.
You were talking about it being with your fishing background, your cannery.
Yeah, so we grew up, you know, my father was a bush pilot and very outdoorsy lifestyle. I started shooting a little recurve bow with him when I was a kid. He was a bow hunter with a recurve, so he took you know, caribou and mountain goat and even Dall sheep and bears and all kinds of things with his recurve. And so I learned how to shoot a recurve when I was little with him. And then, you know, when I got older, you know, once I married my husband, he was really into bow hunting and to the outdoors. And there was not an archery store in Anchorage that really fulfilled the needs of the community that we thought would be kind of the type of place that we would want to hang out in. And so we started our own archery store there, and it just grew really rapidly. It was a really big place. It was like a 5,600 square foot archery store, and we had an indoor range, and we had a techno hunt booth, and I taught lessons there, and I ran a children's homeschool program through NAS where children would come in and do archery classes with me, and they would get their PE credit. I would do that in the mornings before we opened the store. And then I would teach BOW program archery classes and women's group classes. And it just kind of grew from there with the pro shop. And so I started seeing more and more women come in and get involved in archery or be interested and not kind of know how to get started. And so I just saw a need there. So I started putting together women's group hunts, and I would like either take them out and sit with individual women so that they would feel comfortable. You know, some women had never shot before, so we'd start out, I'd do lessons with them, get them outfitted, and then take them on their first hunt. And that kind of just, it just kind of grew from there. I just thought that was so fun to see someone go from never shooting before all the way up to being with them when they harvested something. So I kind of grew my passion for helping others. And in the meantime, I was doing my own bow hunting too. So I've taken 26 big game animals with my bow over the years. And I was the 6th woman ever in history to take a brown bear with a bow, or 6th woman ever on record to take a brown bear with a bow. And yeah, I don't know. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Well, and I think from some of our sessions that we've had, while we've done a few introductory sessions of, you know, how to get started with shotguns or rifles or bow hunting, especially with your expertise, Joni. And I think a lot of the skill levels that we have, what's amazing about this group is I think we have a varied skill sets within our participants, but I do know that several have reached out to us saying, hey, I would really love to pick up bow hunting. I really just don't know where to start. We're about at the tail end of our archery season here in New Mexico. So I guess what should a beginner do if they're interested in bow hunting? Kind of how would they get started? Maybe the types of equipment that you would recommend for them to start, and some of those steps or sequences that would make the most sense for a complete novice bow hunter. And then we can maybe build on that, because I know several of us are more in past that beginner level. And I know I'm always learning, and I've kind of been on and off bow hunting for 20 years, and I still continually learn so many different things from everybody. So
yeah, I think, well, I'm obviously a big fan of pro shops. So, I mean, if you can find a great pro shop in your area to go to, then a lot of those places will have lessons. You can possibly, like at our store, we would rent bows to people. So you can rent a bow and shoot on the range or take some lessons. So that's a great way to get started. The BOW program, I know you said you don't have it in New Mexico, but some of the surrounding states do have it. So we have it here in Arizona. So that's becoming an outdoors woman program. I taught for them at the Alaska BOW program for about 10 years. And I would teach beginner level archery, but also teach like advanced level, you know, bow hunting techniques. So you can pick different classes within that program. We actually had a ton of ladies that would travel around and go to different BOW programs in different states with their girlfriends. And they had a lot of fun doing that. We would always have ladies fly up to Alaska for it, or, you know, come out to the Arizona one. So that's a way to get started as well. If you can't do, you know, lessons and things like that, you can always find, you know, some groups online maybe that can mentor you or help you get started. An adjustable bow, if you've never shot a bow before, an adjustable bow that has a wider draw range for weight, you know, something that goes 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds all within the same limb set is a great way to get started, because it's really a muscle that you don't use a lot. You know, you're really pulling and squeezing your shoulder blades together in the back and using your back muscles. A lot of people think you're pulling with your arm, but that's not really correct form. You should be, you know, squeezing with your back as you draw. And so that might be a muscle that's not as developed for some ladies when they get started. So they might start only drawing 30 pounds, you know, to get started, and then work up to a higher poundage over time. It's more important to have great form than it is to pull a lot of weight when you're first getting started. So I would always suggest pulling a lighter poundage and making sure that you can draw it straight back rather than doing what's called skying your bow, which if someone's pulling too much weight, they will draw upwards and then come down. And that engages the wrong muscles and is also, it's a safety issue as well. So you want to make sure that you can draw straight back from a variety of positions. If you're kneeling, if you're sitting, if you're standing, that you can draw straight back. So starting at a lighter poundage, and then once you get used to shooting that, then continuing to increase the poundage so that you can get up to a legal draw weight for the state or the game that you want to shoot. Some states have 40 pounds for a lot of their game. Alaska has 50 pounds for, things like moose and brown bear and bison and muskox and things like that. So depending on what you want to hunt, you might have a goal weight that you're trying to work towards. Then you might move into a different bow at that time that has faster cams, but a shorter limb set, draw poundage. A lot of times the adjustable bows that go say 20 to 50 pounds or 20 to 70 pounds, the cams aren't quite as fast. So you're not getting as much kinetic energy for your shots. And so maybe over time, once you settle in and okay, I shoot 50 pounds and that's going to be my max, then you might go to a different bow setup where you have a faster cam that only goes 40 to 50 pounds for a little more efficiency, a little flatter arrow trajectory, better penetration on the animal. I could get really technical, but that might bore everybody.
No, I think this information is great, and especially form. I see a lot of those sky, pulling it back and then trying to get on your target. So I think that is a dying art, is trying to do. Everybody's in such a hurry, I think, to get involved, and you forget about some of those simpler steps that can help you become a more proficient archer. And I think where we're at right now, if we're at the, kind of the tail end of the archery season, I think it's great information for all of us to know as we're going into the new season of things that we could be working on now to get us ready for September, or I think even our pronghorn archery hunts are in August now, which is so incredibly crazy hot.
And another thing I would say that I think really is a misconception is a lot of people think that a lot of women think that they have to be drawing close to the same poundage as their husband or their boyfriend or the guy at the pro shop or whatever is pulling. And just for example, I took a brown bear with a 1 arrow shot at 54 pounds. I have a 25-inch draw. I'm short, I'm 5'3". So 25-inch draw is a short draw. So I've already lost some of my kinetic energy there because I'm not drawing the arrow back as far. And 54 pounds, I had a full pass through, the brown bear went down within 20 yards. You don't have to be pulling a ton of weight. If you have good form and you are making ethical choices in the field with your shot and you have good arrow placement, you don't have to be killing yourself to pull a ton of draw weight. I've never shot anything where I was pulling over 55, 56 pounds max. And honestly, I've shot some things when I was pulling 45 pounds. So I think it's important to understand your equipment, to understand, your limitations. There are plenty of times that I've been out in the field. I've passed on far more animals than I've taken because I've said that's a 60-yard shot. I know my equipment. I know my penetration is not going to be ethical at that distance. My arrow is only going to go in X amount of distance and I don't want to wound something. I would rather not take the shot and come back a different day and try to sneak in closer. So you do have to know the limitations of your equipment, but I think it's important for ladies to know that you don't have to push yourself to be pulling, 60 pounds and taking 80-yard shots. It's more important to be ethical. And I think we owe it to the animal. I really hammer on this. If anybody follows me on social media, they know how much I will pass on something. I mean, literally, if it's 5-10 yards pass, I will not take the shot because I just think it's so important that we owe it to the animal to be as ethical as possible, make the best possible shot, and not be tracking a wounded animal.
Yeah, 100%. You could have a really good situation turn into kind of a horrible situation after that. And there's no worse feeling than losing an animal, even if you had a best place shot. So I 100% agree with you on that. I know I've had a few questions over time and just within the last week, especially for some folks who couldn't make it, on broadhead selection. There's just so many different things out there, and everybody's got an opinion about the proper broadheads to use for game and whatnot. Are you able to touch on that just a little bit?
Yeah. So one of the things that I would see a lot running my archery store is someone would stop at a big box store, and maybe someone that didn't really know that much about archery or kinetic energy would sell a woman a pack of broadheads, and then she'd stop by my store and show me, and I would say, you don't have enough kinetic energy for these expandables. So I think I know expandables are super popular, particularly with male hunters, and I'm not saying that women can't shoot expandables, but it's really important to read the packaging on the back, read about the expandable broadhead, and make sure that you have calculated out, and make sure that with your draw length and the amount of poundage that you're pulling and the speed of your bow, that you have enough kinetic energy to deploy that expandable broadhead, because otherwise an expandable will go in just like a field point, and it won't open, and you'll end up losing whatever you shot at. I personally always shoot a fixed blade. I don't care for expandables for myself. And I shoot a QAD Exodus, which is Quality Archery Designs Exodus broadhead. I've taken everything pretty much with that broadhead, with just a couple exceptions. And I like it because it's a fixed blade, and it's got a shorter shaft on it. So if you get a fixed blade with a really long head or really long shaft to it, some of those with today's modern compounds with the speed will end up planing at longer distances. So they might be dead on at 20 yards, but they will start to plane and catch the wind at a 40 or 50 yard shot. And so I like a little bit shorter head on it, which is the QAD Exodus. The Slick Tricks are like that. There's a few different brands that have a shorter head like that. And then a little bit thicker blade. So if you do catch bone, you're not going to snap a blade as it's going in. So I think those are important as well. I also think, you want to make sure it's really important that your bow has been paper tuned when you go to shoot your broadheads, and that you take some shots with a broadhead, because not every brand hits exactly the same as your field points. So on a broadhead target, to make sure that you don't just assume it's going to hit identical to your field points, but to take some shots with it. And you may have to make some adjustments to your sight specific to the broadhead if you do have some planing.
So it'd probably be your recommend when you pretty much dialed in and you're ready to move from your field points to your broadheads, because then if you do have to make those minor sight alignment and adjustments, that you're wanting to then tune your bow to how your broadhead is going to perform. And Correct. Just know that then now you're going to kind of be committed to shooting those practice broadheads right, before your hunt, and know how your equipment is going to react at different yardages. So that's fantastic. Exactly. Yeah. I'll touch a little bit on the mechanical broadheads. I used to, I think we've shot some Muzzies and some Montecs before, and I've had some success with those, but I did shoot some just smaller game, javelina and whitetail does in Texas with mechanicals, and I was very, very successful. But I was talking to Stephanie the other day about this because she had drawn a really good archery elk hunt, and I told her, I said I would never feel comfortable shooting an elk with what my poundage is with those mechanical broadheads, is that I would definitely go to a fixed blade on a bigger animal like that. But I think that in some capacity, mechanicals do have their applications, but I do think people forget about that kinetic energy. And if you're not really pulling that, how ineffective they can be, especially at not opening up. And I've heard horror stories about people doing that because they just forget. So I really appreciate you touching on that. But I just wanted to allude to people, because I think there are some ladies that we have reached out to us that have started with or have looked at the mechanical broadheads. I took them, there was whitetail and javelina with the with them and were successful and had huge cutting surfaces. I was amazed. But again, I would never shoot
And
an elk.
there's a couple brands now that have taken that more into effect. So for example, I can think there's a Rage KE.
Yeah.
So it's a low KE kinetic energy. So then if you flip over the package and you look and it's specifically made to deploy at a lower kinetic energy, then that's going to work for you. But it's just really important if you're going to go that route to understand what your kinetic energy is, and then to look at which ones will deploy at what kinetic energy. Because if you got a longer draw, you might have enough kinetic energy if you're a little bit taller, but shorter girls with a shorter draw and a lighter poundage, you might not have it. So it's just important to look at the packaging on that and not just assume that every broadhead works for every bow, because it's really more specific.
Yeah. And I appreciate you emphasizing that for sure, because that's super, super important. And the last thing we want to do is set up anybody for disappointment later on down the road, thinking, oh, this is going to perform exactly the way this is. And I know a lot of folks get super frustrated with trying to tune their bows to a broadhead sometimes, but that's where getting the expertise from somebody who's really well known with that kind of stuff is definitely will save you some headache for sure, if you can latch onto somebody who can help you paper tune your bow and get it dialed in for your broadheads. So
is there this is a good point to mention when you were in your physics class, maybe in college or in high school, and you thought, when am I ever going to use kinetic energy? That was a good time to realize that we're going to use kinetic energy finally. Finally, it paid off.
Yeah.
I wasn't so good at that class, so I barely scooted by in physics. That's where I need help.
If somebody is confused and they need some help, they can just message me and I'll help them.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Before I go on any further, has there been anything in the chat or anybody in our little window, because I can't see everybody anymore, that we need to address or anything?
I think there was a good point made that Kira mentioned in the chat, that to remember the local laws, because some areas don't allow mechanical broadheads. So I think that's a good point to remember as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think here in New Mexico, we don't have a minimum poundage or the type of broadheads. It's pretty wide open, but I do know other states have some minimum poundage requirements. I think, and Colleen, you can maybe allude to this since you hunt a little bit more outside of New Mexico. I don't think Arizona, if they do, it's 40 pounds. I don't remember. And I think there are some states out there that have a minimum poundage of 40 at least.
Yeah, there's definitely rules for various states, but a lot of those can change from year to year. That's why it's extremely important just to check on those before you go out. Or before you even apply to some of those hunts as well. That way that you know what you're getting yourself into before the hunt even starts or before you even apply.
Right. Or then you kind of know too, hey, I'm right there on that 40 bubble. I need to practice a little bit more. And Joni, maybe that's one other thing that we can add to this before we move on to kind of some species is there some particular exercises in the off season? And obviously the best way to get muscle memory is to shoot as much as you can. But I think there's been some advances on types of through various different outdoor nutrition companies that have come up with a few exercises that will mimic building those shoulder muscles and the back muscles. Can you allude to any of that? If it really does help, or is it better than to just keep shooting your bow?
No, yeah, I mean, shooting is ideal, but yeah, you can't. It doesn't always work out, or it's pouring rain and you can't get outside, or whatever. But just a workout band, making sure that you're thinking about using the muscles that I was talking about and squeezing and drawing back on that. There's a company called Bow Trainer that has a kind of a rod that has 3 different bands on it for different weights that you can draw back. There's another one, AccuBow, that makes a bow where you can change the poundage on it and draw the band back, and practice, anchor and release. And so there's several different companies out there, but you don't have to spend a fortune on it. You can also just get some, bands and use those and continue to draw back. Or, in the gym, some, you know, that rowing kind of motion that uses that same muscle would work great for building up your strength.
Awesome. And what species would you recommend for folks to start off? I know I have some of my opinions, but
well, my opinion's probably really different than most people, but I was born and raised in Alaska, so I think black bear is excellent to start on. That's what I usually would start my girlfriends or ladies at the store that wanted to go bow hunting for the first time. You know, black bear are thin skinned. You're generally, you know, you're sitting in a tree stand, so you know your yardage that you're shooting. You feel a little bit safer because you're up in the tree stand. You know, in Alaska, you can do a baited black bear hunt, which you can do in Canada and other places as well. So that's generally what I would start someone on. But, you know, I didn't grow up somewhere where there are things like turkey and deer around. So my opinion is totally very different. I would guess that most people would probably tell someone to, you know, start with deer or turkey or something. But I think, you know, in general, I think a tree stand hunt is a great way to get started. Now in my life, I personally prefer to do spot and stock because I enjoy the challenge of it, and I enjoy a lot of Western game that requires more of a spot and stock style. But when you're getting started, I think a tree stand hunt is excellent because you can use your rangefinder and you can look out and see these different trees around you, and you can pre-range all those distances. So you can say, if the deer or the bear walks through here, that's a 20-yard shot. That's a 30-yard shot. That's a 40-yard shot. And that's beyond my reach. If he's out there, I'm not going to take the shot because that's a 50-yard shot and that's too far. So you can really sit there before any action happens, and you can pre-range all around you and kind of know, so that when an animal comes in, you already know that's 20 yards. I'm going to use my 20-yard pin. And I think that gives a new hunter a lot of comfort to really know exactly what their shot's going to be and kind of pre-plan. I think it's a nice, easy way to get started, and black bear baiting is something that really lends itself to that. So I usually start ladies on black bear.
That's a little different than what we maybe would do here in New Mexico for sure. And I saw some chat in Arizona that javelina is really good, which is cool because they're on a nice day, they're out literally all day, and so it's not like you have these windows of opportunity. But yeah, a lot of the times deer and javelina and pronghorn as well, just because they're that thinner skin and not quite as tough as an elk. And antelope are great because you can literally hunt them all day. You can set a blind on some water and do exactly what you were saying, is sit down in your blind and do some ranging before that animal even gets there. That way you're more prepared. So, but yeah, those are extremely good points. So I'm going to kind of switch gears. Is there any bow hunting questions for Joni from the group? Are we good? I saw there was a lot of traffic on the chat about the some of those bow training apparatuses, so that's awesome. So as she alluded, she's obviously a lifetime archer, but she was put into a situation recently where she literally had to shoot a mile and learn how to do that. And coming from somebody who's a bow hunter and trying to pick up rifle hunting can be a little daunting task. And I know that a lot of our ladies who have joined our social group over the last year or just recently seem to be a little intimidated by rifle hunting. And I'm sure you probably can relate to that. So share your situations and stories and intrepidations and all that good stuff.
So most people start out, I think it's more common to start out as a rifle hunter and then move into bow hunting, but that's not what I did. I started out bow hunting and I enjoyed it so much, I just continued bow hunting. So I was never a rifle hunter. I was never comfortable with shooting guns. I wasn't a gun girl. So I had an opportunity in 2020. A producer of a TV show reached out to me and said that they were doing this show that was about shooting long range guns. And he didn't really give me a lot of information because it was kind of supposed to be a surprise. That was part of the show. And it was a competition, and he was taking a variety of different women out to a shooting training facility to learn how to shoot guns and to try to shoot a mile within 3 days, which was daunting. And I just, and we haven't talked about this at all yet, but I was diagnosed with this rare disease before I left Alaska. And at the time when I first got diagnosed, I was given a very, short time left in my life. And I just decided that if I was given opportunities for adventure, I wasn't going to say no. If it was at all possible to go for it, I was going to try, any new thing that came my way and sort of check things off my bucket list. So I agreed to go, and it was kind of a crazy experience. Some of the women that were there were very experienced with guns. There was, one woman was a trainer, for women with guns. So she ran her own training facility. One woman was in the military, these amazing women, and I knew nothing and would actually kind of shake when I would get set up on a gun. And we were just thrown into a classroom at this basically sniper school with a man that was a military sniper, and they trained us very, very rapidly because it was a TV show format. You would get very brief, 30, 45 minute, maybe an hour of training, and then you would go straight out in the field and you would use that skill. But they're timing you. You've got cameras on you. You're told you only have 2 or 3 minutes to set up the shot and make it. And it was a crazy experience. But what I found out was the principles of shooting really translated from archery to guns. So even though I had no clue even about the terminology that they were using or anything about shooting, and I was nervous, I just took a lot of the principles of shooting archery and applied them to shooting the guns. And if anybody's watched the TV show, it's on YouTube if you're interested. I did really, really well on it. And I thought I was going to miss every single target. So I was like really excited about being able to shoot, 400 yards and then 800 yards and then 1400 yards in under these crazy conditions. It was very cold. I was fighting my disease the whole time. So it was a really fun experience for me. Things like in archery, if you're at full draw and you want to really slowly squeeze the trigger on your release to the point where it almost surprises you when it goes off. You're just continuing to squeeze those muscles in your back and pull through the shot. And really that was the way that, shooting a rifle was as well. And the way that I would breathe through a shot was the same in rifle. And so all those things kind of translated over, and I did better than I thought. And it was a pretty fun experience to get thrown into.
That's so awesome. And I think sometimes we forget about those elementary steps that we learn, no matter if you're rifle hunting or rifle shooting or bow hunting. How I think we overanalyze maybe as adults sometimes is that, well, I'm picking up this whole new skill set and I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And it's like, wait a minute, if you have kind of the basics, no matter how you've learned and you follow those, then that's really amazing to, hey, you can really do this. Just use the same steps. What kind of got you through some of that nervousness and with shooting a rifle? Because I know a lot of our ladies, they wanted to start off with, hey, I would like to start applying for rifle hunts. Obviously you were just thrown into the fire and saying, hey, you're going to learn how to shoot this long range rifle, and we're going to give you this one caliber. But some of our ladies have said, hey, maybe I'll go out and buy a 22 or a smaller caliber rifle to get me started. But I know that you had the opportunity to go on a cow elk hunt in Arizona. So learning some of the skills sets that you did have, but you're still a rifle hunter. And I know you had mentors helping you. What kind of some of those steps did you take to go out and then purchase your rifle, and what helped you in that selection? Or maybe you borrowed something. I mean, what was those steps to do that so you could be prepared for that elk hunt?
So I used a 300 Winchester short mag, and that was actually my husband's gun. But we specifically chose that gun because I am still, basically all my rifle experience is 3 days, lumped together in this very intense thing. So I still am nervous about rifle hunting, which everyone was laughing at me because they're like, you've hunted all these things, you've done all these hunts. And I'm like, but it's not the same thing. Like for me, rifle it felt very different, and it felt it felt scary for me to do. To go on a bow hunt, I don't think twice about it. I feel like an extension of my bow. I'm so comfortable with it. With this, I felt very awkward. And so we chose that gun specifically because it had less kick. And the kick is something I think as a new shooter that you anticipate. And so having a little bit less kick to the gun was one of the things that we talked about. We also had a tripod for me. So I practiced, being prone. I practiced on shooting sticks, and then I practiced on a tripod, and just the type of hunt it was, and how the yardage we were going to end up doing, and the ton, we were covering a ton of ground. It just wasn't going to end up being something where I was going to be able to probably be prone. So we knew I'd probably either have to be on shooting sticks or a tripod. And the tripod I felt much more comfortable with. The shooting sticks, I felt like I could be a little bit forward or a little bit back, and everything was didn't feel as comfortable for me or as consistent as I want it to be coming from that bow hunting background where I want everything to be really consistent. So the tripod was great for me, and I don't know, I was nervous. The whole thing was sounds silly, but if you've hunted a ton, but I was nervous about it.
Everybody has kind of their own ways of dealing with like that anxiousness or nervousness. What are some pointers that you could give some of our newbie rifle hunters, or maybe you can literally probably apply this to any type of hunting, on how to work through some of that, since maybe some of those nerves and anxieties were literally just a few months ago. How did you kind of work through that?
I would say, focusing on your breathing for sure. I think both with archery and with rifle is, focusing on your breathing, slowing your breathing down. I think from practicing either with a bow or with a rifle, for me, or when I'm coaching someone even on bow hunting, I say the steps in my head, so I go through, if it was archery, I would have someone that I was coaching say each step to them so that they don't get rattled and they really stay present as far as draw, anchor, relax your hand, set your pin, like going through these steps. And so the same thing with rifle, making sure that it's seated properly, and making sure your face is seated properly on the rifle, and controlling your breathing, and slow squeeze on the trigger, and saying each step slowly to myself is generally with both how I would calm myself down. So going through slowly each step. And I never, in bow hunting as well, I never focus on the antlers. I never really look at those kinds of things. I really focus on just the spot, picking a spot and focusing just on that spot that I'm aiming for. So not getting caught up in looking at the antlers or something and giving yourself buck fever, but really focusing on that spot that you're picking.
That's right. It's was it aim small, miss small,
Yeah.
So, and I think too, this probably goes with any hunter. You put a lot of pressure on yourself that, oh, I need to get the big deer, or I need to get the, the fattest cow, or whatever. And I think that so many people, especially new shooters, put a lot of pressure on themselves that they absolutely have to harvest something on one of their first hunts. And it took me years, because I was like you, and like with Kira, I started off the weird way and went through bow hunting and worked my way up, and I went years with failed stalks and just multiple different things before you actually get to harvest anything. And so I just want to put out to the group is don't put that kind of pressure on yourself. Just have fun with the experience. And I think it's what a lot of folks through our ladies social hours can agree with is just have fun with the experience and learn. And it's always with any hunt is icing on the cake for sure. So is there any questions for Joni at this point in time that I'm missing?
Yeah, somebody wanted to know what kind of tripod that you're using, Joni, with your rifle.
You know, I would have, if they could message me and I can get the name of the brand. I don't know offhand the name of the brand, but I'd be happy if anybody wants to message me. I think she'll give my info at the end. I'll be happy to send that.
Perfect. Awesome. And I think it's with anything is as you practice things, you're only going to be more proficient with it and more confident with it. I think Caitlin, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, thanks so much for doing this and for being here. I am pretty novice. My friend up in Montana, I'm down in New Mexico, obviously, but my friend who's up in Montana is like after a single year, like leaps and bounds beyond me. We did our first like fair chase deer hunt together, but she has so much access, so much opportunity with the season up in Montana that I'm having sort of like season envy, and I'm wondering how you all developed your skills over a reasonable amount of time, as opposed to feeling like you have 5 days for elk, you know, once every year, once every other year, and, you know, a deer tag and another 5 days at that a year or so. Yeah, however you have gotten like momentum with our excellent but sort of more limited hunting opportunities. I'd love to hear that.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you, I could do a plug here. If you want to extend your season, you can either one, quail hunt, which I'm a big fan of. So let's talk. Or number two, you can hunt them coyotes all year long. Just saying.
Yeah.
And you can see so many deer or elk trying to find either those little bitty birds or, you know, the coyotes themselves. So you may learn a thing or two more about quail or coyotes when you're out hunting than you would think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we all feel the pain here when you're part of that Western draw process. Is you put in for everything under the sun, hoping you'll get like one tag. It's really disheartening when you have only one and that's your one and done. But there are so many small game opportunities. I think when Arizona, there's tons of the little Abert squirrels. That's a blast if you've never done that before with the 22. And but yeah, the upland hunting, you can do that for such a long amount of time. And then people don't even think about cottontails, jackrabbits. It's great to go out there to build your confidence up. You can eat them as well. Just be sure that there's a good hard freeze before you decide to eat them. But do a little research on that. But it's great to build confidence and build your skill sets just being a field. That's how, you know, we all can get better with that. So yeah, but it is one of those doldrums, especially this time of year when you're like, oh, there's really not a lot going on, but there is, huh, Stephanie?
I would just echo it. I'm just saying, I still got 4 more weekends left. I'm still at it.
I would echo that and say that the small game hunting is excellent for keeping your skill set up, but also like if you're interested in archery in the off season, I think if you can get involved in 3D shoots or 3D ranges, those are really great for practicing yardages. So you can go out on there's tons of different groups that put together 3D competitions or courses that you can go through where you have to estimate the different yardages and they set up 3D animals for you to practice shooting. That's a great way to keep your skill set up, picking a spot and judging a yardage quickly without your rangefinder and things like that, that can kind of keep your skill set up as well in the off season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people have access to even a halfway decent community, there's usually at least one bow shop available to somebody, and you can go in there, and sometimes they have leagues, they might have tournaments, and then other conservation groups might have 3D archery tournaments throughout the state that you can participate in. They're not too terribly much money, and sometimes they even have practice round or practice walkthroughs, and you don't, pay $10 and go, and it's a good time. So, so that's a great thing. And I think that another wonderful thing and that's what we're all trying to do with these social hours is try to get women to start networking with one another and making those social connections. And it's really hard to do virtually, as we all can agree. But I think it's great, Joni, a lot of these relationships that you've built with women through your various organizations that you've done. I know that you've participated in podcasts, and you've been published in magazines, and so your outreach goes so far out there. And then all the different women's groups that you've helped support over your lifetime so far. And just what are some of the things that you can pass along to women who are trying to start networking with others to get out there and be involved, especially in a safe environment? You don't want to get out there with some crazy person, right? Because that'll turn your good situation into not so fun. So what can you pass along to us this evening on how to get involved and what to look for in learning from others? And maybe we have some women on board with us tonight that are ready to give back. And so maybe allude to some of that on how they can start giving back.
Yeah, I think there's tons of different groups out there that host women's hunting events or even just women's adventure events. So my company does that. So we will host some of the pictures she has up on the screen there are from, past events, whether it's a goose hunt or a black bear hunt, or I've taken groups of women to Africa twice, or turkey hunting, but also four-wheeling trips, fishing trips, where you're networking and you're meeting other women that love the outdoors, and then planning, maybe other adventures with them. But not just my company. There's lots of companies that do that. Proas, which is a women's outerwear company, does that. And I'm actually going on a trip with them to New Zealand with a group of ladies in March, which I'm super excited about. My absolute bucket list hunt to hunt red stag with my bow. So that's a ladies group trip, but it doesn't have to be anything that extravagant. It could be, a pheasant hunt or a camping trip or something. Those are great networking opportunities. There's women in the women in the outdoors. You mentioned that they have an event coming up, to help women network. There's BOW that I mentioned, which is in a lot of other states around New Mexico as well. That's a great way to get involved. And there's lots of other companies that do it too. So I think that there's something really special about going on a trip with a group of women like that. You have these shared experiences, and it's just different than going on a trip with the guys, I think. And a lot of those trips, at least the ones that I plan through my company, when the women leave, they're like best buddies after a week of hunting together, and they're all connected and they're making other plans and things. We have we're going to set up a women's hog hunt, and we're doing a women's outdoor wine tasting thing to get together as well. So, things like that to try to network, I think are great ways to get connected to people, pay attention to the states around you as well, and events that they have, close by, maybe hopping over the border from New Mexico to Arizona and coming to an event here might help you get connected. Absolutely.
And a lot of the times we've had ladies or just anybody on our group in the past who I think they would like to try to help in that mentoring capacity, but I think maybe sell themselves short. And so to where that, they definitely have the skill sets and the abilities, but then they think, oh, I'm not that good. I haven't been bow hunting for 20 years, or I haven't been rifle hunting or shotgun hunting for 20 years. And so I have nothing to give back. And I don't agree. Can you also give your take on when do you, I mean, absolutely. I think it's anytime anybody, I learn from people who are completely novices. So
yeah. And sometimes that's less intimidating because then, someone's has just recently been through, like you were saying, me with the rifle, and I'm brand new and I don't know what I'm doing. Like sometimes it's less intimidating to learn from someone that hasn't been doing it for a super long time, someone that just kind of went through the process that you're going through too. And, getting involved with any of the conservation groups, Safari Club International or Turkey Federation or, you know, all Mule Deer Federation, all these different groups that they all have, or a lot of them have mentors available or programs available to get you, you know, out and connected with people. And that might help ladies get connected too. If anyone after this, you know, needs some suggestions, you can always, like I said, you can message me and I'll try to help connect you. I've been in the outdoor industry a long time, so I might know somebody or someone to connect you with. I'm happy to try to help ladies, you know, get out more.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just want to interject a little bit and say, stick with these lady social hours too, because I mean, we have these great presenters like yourself, and we've had some in the past that are really well connected and really give their time and effort into connecting everyone else. So it's a great idea to stay tuned. If you can't make it, you know, in person or live with us, go back and watch the YouTube videos on the channel. And that'll give you some great information and contact information as well. And we've got a lot going on in our chat right now.
Yeah, do we need to take a pause to answer any questions? Okay, go ahead.
Let's just go
fire away
here a little bit. We have a question about where you can find out about places in New Mexico to go out and look for wildlife, even if it's in the off season and you don't have a tag, but just want to get out into the woods gaining confidence. Erica, what I would tell you is look at maybe Onyx or Carry Map and pick a place that kind of interests you. Start out with the 4 different corners in New Mexico and see what interests you. And then pick something, a public land spot out there and just go out and check it out. I can't express just getting out there enough. It really, you could e-scout for a long time, but until you get out there and actually gain some skills and, like you said, confidence, that goes miles in this, and I can't express that enough. And as far, I just wanted to mention too that when getting out there in the off season, be mindful of birthing seasons. You don't really want to pressure those animals when they're trying to give birth. It kind of stresses moms out, and so we kind of want to stay away from pressuring those animals at that time.
Yeah, and typically that's in May for your elk and into July for your mule deer, and late May for a pronghorn as well. But I really like your idea, Stephanie, of just go out and pick a spot. And if you don't have a whole lot of time, depending upon where you live, if it's in Las Cruces, Oregon mountains are beautiful. If you've never explored them before, there's a myriad of wildlife there that you wouldn't have thought, just right there in your backyard. And here with the Sandy and Manzano Mountains right here by Albuquerque, it takes about probably 45 minutes to get up to the top from Albuquerque, but you don't have to go all the way up there. But just learning sign, I was up there a few weeks ago, just to kind of play around, and it's just really good for your mind and your soul just to get outside anyway. But at the same time, I found rubs, I found fresh track in the snow, and I thought, I'm just going to follow this for a little while, and you see fresh sign, and you can then tell the difference between old sign and new sign. And it's just getting exposed to so many different things, and you just never know what you're going to see. And you might not see an elk, but I'm a bird nerd. So anytime I see this like cool little Tweety bird, I'm like, oh, it's a nuthatch. And so there's so many different things you can look at that you can appreciate. And maybe it's not an elk or a mule deer, but it's a lesser chipmunk, or it's an Abert squirrel, or it's a type of bird you've never seen, or a cool plant that you've never seen. And there's so many cool apps out there that you can download and learn. Plus, by learning those plants and learning those other things about whatever area you're in, then you can learn, is this good deer forage or good elk forage? Or so there's so many different ways that you can get that experience, and you don't have to actively be scouting or be hunting for sure. So what other things?
That's a great point too. And you can also figure out connections of things too between different species. Like when I'm out quail hunting, if there's a hawk flying over in some great habitat, I'm pretty sure that there's going to be some quail over there because it's looking for dinner or breakfast. So that's a great idea. And you were mentioning that you saw like the tracks or scat. Were you on a trail or were you off trail?
Nope, I just kind of decided to meander off trail, and all of a sudden I got into an old aspen regeneration area that's in the Sandias. And wouldn't you know, I started seeing mule deer track. And so it's like, okay, they like to hang out in this area and stuff. So so you start making those mental connections, and seasons as well, as where these animals going to hang out in the winter, and maybe they're going to be different in the summer. And if you get a lot of snow, are they going to get pushed down? And or if there's not snow, are they going to stay high? And so that's going to help you with a myriad of different skill sets when you're looking for any kind of animal. But get out there and get exposed to the environment. You don't have to be carrying a gun or a bow or anything else like that. Just get out and grab a buddy, network with some of the people that are part of this group that might be in your area, and say, hey, let's go for a hike in the foothills for a couple of hours. And I know life is super crazy busy, and you got family and jobs and who knows, a myriad of other responsibilities. But part of my resolution this year is to resolution outdoors and get out there, even if it's just for 30 minutes a day. I go during lunch sometimes for my walk along the bosque, and I get so excited when I see a porcupine. It is so exciting. And if you've never seen a porcupine in real life, it's super cool. And they make noises, which I didn't really know. It's really cool. So you never know what you're going to see, even if it's literally outside your office. So do yourself a favor and get outside and take a walk in a park, or make it a goal that I'm going to learn this type of bird today and try to find it. I don't know, try to do something to keep yourself focused on outside and not on the busy things that you have going on in your lives. But as I digress, what else do we have in the chat?
So we have a lot of interest in compiling a list of folks that are here tonight with contact information. And it looks like if y'all are interested in that and you want to be connected with some other ladies that are here tonight, I'd say email. Do we want to nominate one of us to get all that information? So we're not.
I mentioned in the chat that maybe we can send an email out to everybody tomorrow, and they can just reply to it, to whoever's on the Zoom. We can just send it out and gather all that information and then share it with this group of women.
Okay, I misunderstood your message. Cool.
Sorry.
That sounds
Bad typing too fast.
That sounds more to do, being able to do that. So cool.
Perfect. What else? I saw a lot of traffic in the chat. I don't want to move on and if we're not ready.
Yeah, there just a lot of mention of 3D shoots, where to find 3D shoots.
Awesome.
Got it.
Cool.
Everyone's excited, so this is cool.
That's good. I want everybody to be excited at the first of the year for sure. One thing too, before I move on to kind of the tail end of our discussion today, is I think Joni's a pretty inspirational individual. She's such a strong woman, and some of the life challenges that she's been thrown under with to have to try to deal with is just amazing to me. I stole the quote. Well, and I think you should probably say one of your best quotes. Well, you had a couple. One I think I alluded in your little bio there about the candle, and then you have another one from Gretzky that I think is really super cool. The one that was from Gretzky that I found on one of your pages is, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. I think that's just an amazing piece of knowledge we should all kind of grasp, and don't underestimate yourselves. Just get out there and try it. And I think with Joni and some of the things that she's had to overcome in her life, what motivates you, Joni, to keep going? Some of the challenges that you and I even had in the short time we were communicating to make this happen, I was just so admired by. It's like, well, you got knocked down and you're just going to pick up and keep on going.
I think, with my disease, when I first got, if people don't know, I got diagnosed with a rare disease while I was still living in Alaska. And at that time, the doctor told me I had about 2 years And so we sold our archery store and kind of made bucket lists and decided that we were just going to go out and live our lives to the fullest with the time that we had left, my husband and I. And I had a pity party for a few months, and then I just kind of pulled myself together and thought, I'm just not going to let the disease win. I just refuse that information. And so, I sought out the leading doctor in the world on my disease, which happened to be here in Arizona. So we picked up everything and we moved, and I just kind of got the fight back in me, and I just haven't let it go since. And I'm well past 2 years. So I'm well past my expiration date. And the doctors keep telling me they don't understand why I'm doing so well. And I'm like, I know I am doing well. It's because I think a positive attitude and a positive outlook just goes so far in your life, and not giving up and not giving in. And so no matter what's going on, I just always stay really, really positive. And I have a ton of challenges with this disease to continue to be in the outdoors at all. I literally was just at the doctor this week. As you know, I was having vertigo. I fell down in my living room. I fell over on the TV stand. I couldn't walk for 7 hours. I had to crawl on my hands and knees around the house. But that's just one little thing that happens in a daily thing with this disease. But I was at the doctor, and he gave me this huge lecture about, you're not supposed to be hunting. You're not supposed to be outdoors. You're not supposed to be doing this stuff. And I just said, what do you want me to do? Sit on the couch and rot away? That's not how I'm going to live my life. And I said, the reason I'm doing so well is because I'm outdoors, because I'm out doing these things. And I think it's very important. I have had to adapt some things that I do, but I just haven't given up. And I would just say to anybody that's struggling with illness or disability or any kind of challenge like that is you can adapt, and you can still get outdoors, and you can still live a life outdoors, and don't let someone else's opinion change that for you. 50% of my esophagus is paralyzed. I've lost 28% of my lung capacity because the disease is attacking my lungs. My liver is shot. My circulation is horrific. I have very bad Raynaud's in my hands and my feet and my face. I lose circulation in the field constantly. I've permanently lost feeling in many of my fingers and toes and sections on my face. I could go on and on. And none of that really matters, but because I try to always just focus on all the things I can do. Well, I can still shoot my bow. I can still go out and hunt. I can still, teach other ladies to get out, and I can still help them get involved. And I just try to focus on the positive stuff and keep a good attitude. And I don't know if that answered your question. But
I think it's great. And we all work through, our highs and lows so differently. But what do you feel, maybe what's one of your mantras that you can pass along to help somebody on their worst day, or what we feel like is our worst day? And it's always so easy to say, to stay positive. And I think we all do try to do that sometimes. And but I think sometimes there are those days that, man, you just want to just throw in the towel and say, this is just not worth it. What's some advice that you can give?
I don't know, if I'm having a momentary pity party, then I tell myself, you're going to kind of laugh at this, but I just say, you can be given a cactus, but you don't have to sit on it.
That's awesome.
So that's one. And then you said, about the candle. I just always say a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. So you take two candles, and one's out and one's lit, and you light one. Now they're both lit. This one doesn't lose its flame. And so I just think it's really important to be positive and kind and supportive to other people and encourage them. And I think on my crappiest days, when I'm really, really struggling, I always make a point of making sure that I go and encourage someone else. And I can be like laid up in my bed. I can't get out of bed. My whole face is, because my eyes will swell up, all kinds of fun stuff. So if I'm just in horrible pain and I'm having a tough day, I go out of my way to try to say something positive, encouraging to someone else and help them, because it makes me feel good. And I just feel like you're putting that positivity out into the world. And I think it's good karma.
That's awesome. That's so awesome. Is there anything in the chat, ladies, that I might be missing, or does anybody have their hand raised that I'm not catching? And because I definitely want everybody to be heard for sure.
I just wanted to say, as much as you're, encouraging all the other ladies there, Joni, there's so many women that are encouraging you right now, and just what inspiration you are. So way to go, and thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's taking time out of your day to be with us, and is just amazing. And I had told Cameron, so real quick, I do want to share Joni's contact information and how you can reach out. Another little plug that I'm going to give her is not only does she do all these cool, wonderful things, but she literally has her own small business, which I think is a feat in itself to have a small business. It's amazing outdoor athletic gear. So you can go check that out. And then that's, I believe, Joni, that's also you have some of your ladies' adventures is through your rockstarlette.com website.
Yes.
So
yeah, rockstarletteoutdoors.com, and I usually post them on there, but I also will post them when they're open to book spots. I will post them on our Instagram and our Facebook page, both for people to sign up. We just had a ladies goose hunt last month, and then, like I said, we'll have more stuff coming up. Things kind of got slowed down during COVID, like they did for everyone, where I just wasn't able to book it, because I like to be able to go and interact with the women and encourage them, and if someone wants me to sit with them while they're hunting or whatever and help them. And so during COVID, I couldn't travel as much because of my disease. So now that we're getting through all that, I'm planning on ramping things up and having a lot more trips available going forward.
Awesome. So hopefully everybody took a screenshot of that. If not, you can always reach out to us later and we can share her information with you on another time. But I wanted to, Cameron, I made you a co-host because I really want to see this bighorn sheep.
Okay. Let's see what the best way to do this is. Maybe share my screen.
Yeah, you should be able to, since I made you a co-host.
Okay, let's see here.
And always take those opportunities to brag about yourselves, ladies. Be proud of what you do. Any kind of harvest is an amazing feat in itself, but that is so awesome. So cool.
So I do have to clarify, this is my husband's tag, not mine.
That doesn't matter. Sheep hunting is no joke.
No kidding. Oh my gosh. So I know I said this last time, I'm a brand new hunter. I just signed up for the draw last year for the first time in my entire life. I did not grow up hunting. I didn't grow up with anyone who hunted. And I know my husband drew this tag, which I understand is really rare. And it was our first time putting in for it. So, I mean, I just feel so incredibly lucky to have been able to do this experience. But you're right. It was no joke. It was so hard. So this was down in the Gila, kind of Turkey Creek area. And I think that day we were out for around 27 hours. I think my Garmin told me I did about 10 hours of hiking, and it was really, really rough, steep terrain, lots of loose rocks. And we ended up getting down to the Gila River with it, packing it out at about 2 a.m. and then waited out the night so that we could have daylight to wade across the river, which was freezing cold and about waist high and moving pretty fast. So the whole thing was just such an adventure. And I'm so glad that we were able to do this.
That is so awesome. And I think and Colleen's, helped people on their hunts or been with people on their harvests. And what was cool is Stephanie, she's so new to game and fish, and she got to tag along with some new hunters. And I think I get more excited on other people's hunts than I do for myself anymore. It's just so rewarding and so just cool. So you don't have to be the one harvesting the animal to be just as excited, and to learn and to be part of somebody's adventure, is just really cool. So that is so awesome. Congratulations to both you and your husband. And so, oh, that's awesome. That looks cold.
Yeah. Thank you. Yep, it was very cold.
I
think I was too tired to hear
like
that
Alaska.
It does. It kind of looks like Alaska.
I'm gonna add to Jennifer's comment, Cameron, because both Jennifer and I have been with our husbands when they shot their once in a lifetime ram also. Cool. And from doing those hunts and hearing this freaking awesome story, you did everything in a sheep hunt except pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So you did everything else that your husband did. And that was something exciting that I got to experience with my husband for his sheep hunt. It was like, yeah, it was brutal and it was grueling, and I've got scars and memories and stuff to last a lifetime from it. But like, you got to experience the thrill of a sheep hunt as much as anybody else on that hunt too. So that's super exciting for him. I did see one of those pictures of him already floating around on social media. So it's cool to see that it was you guys. Yeah. I think I saw something from G3 or something that
was our outfitter. Yes.
Yeah. So
how funny.
yeah, it looks like you guys are in great hands, and man, congrats on an awesome sheep. That's even as new hunters, I'm glad to see that you appreciate and know how big of a deal that is. Like, that kind of experience is what people wait their entire lives for. And you guys got that right off the bat. Your first year applying.
Pretty spoiled right out of the gate.
Yeah, gotta love New Mexico.
Is anything going to live up to that?
It won't. I'll tell you, it won't. But hey, you did it. You don't have to spend your whole life wondering what if. So congrats. That's a great sheep.
Thank you so much. You know what's funny is one of the guys that went on the hunt with us at 2 a.m. down at the river told me, you know, Cameron, I'm so impressed. You kept up with all the big guides and you, sorry, my dog, and you never strayed behind. You did all of this, and you told me, I don't know a single other woman that would do this. And I, in the back of my head, I thought, I think I do. I bet I do. I think I just met a whole bunch of them.
100%.
Yeah, you got a tribe now. You're stuck with us. So that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm so excited to meet you all in person in February, hopefully.
Yes, 100%. And that is a perfect segue to our next little topic here. Let me see here. I'll go ahead and let you, yeah, thank you. I was like, well, go away. So that's a perfect segue to our February Ladies Social Hour. And then Colleen, you can kind of chime in on kind of what you've got planned for the Cruces group, but we are going in person. I'm so excited. No, it's been a long time coming, ladies. So we're really excited that February 8th, if you're in the Albuquerque metro area, we are hosting an in-person ladies social hour at Nexus Brewing in Albuquerque. We'll have all the details for the registration when it comes out. It'll be kind of around the same time. And what we are going to do, because again, every time this year, so many people come to us saying, you know, I really want to learn how to apply myself for my hunts. I'm tired of relying on other people to put me in, or then they ask me what I want to do, or I'm not really sure. And this is your opportunity to learn how to apply for the draw on your own. Bring your tablets, you can do it from a phone. You don't have to have a laptop. There's so many different ways you can apply for hunts. For this upcoming license year. The draw opens actually tomorrow. Draw one deadline is in Colleen or Tristana, you guys can film
March
me.
22nd.
That's draw 2. So draw 2 is March 22nd. February 15th is draw 1 deadline. So if for those of you who are interested in special turkey entry permits, especially for some youth, so if any of you have any kiddos for special entry turkey permits, February 15th, or bear, special entry bear for I think it's on our wildlife areas. February 15th is the draw application deadline for that. And then everything else is March 22nd. But come learn in person with us on how to apply for the draw. We'll also have some other cool information on how to look at draw odds. Stephanie has a really cool app. I know Colleen has some cool stuff. Don't get bummed out if you're not able to be with us in person. We're going to do a hybrid as well. So you can participate online like this during that session as well. I'll have it running through the Albuquerque session. So for those of you on the 8th that want to participate with us, but you have to do it hybrid, because I know that I really wish we could be in Farmington and Silver City and Animus and everywhere in between, but we'll definitely do a hybrid. You can hop online. We'll help walk you through the process of how to apply. Colleen, what you got going for the Southwest area?
So if you can't make it to the Albuquerque event, we're going to do one in Las Cruces also. So for our Southern folks, if you want to come to the Las Cruces Game and Fish office, if you guys are going to plan on doing it on February 8th, I figure we might as well just keep that same theme going. February 8th in Las Cruces. We'll probably start at same time, 5:30, and same thing. Bring your laptops, bring your tablets, whatever you want to use to apply yourself. We'll kind of have some worksheets and stuff that you guys can have. Also, we should also have our printed rule and information booklets by then too. So that way you can, go through them, write down some notes. I'm a sucker for the printed copies. I like to write all of my notes down in them, highlight what I want to apply for, put my preference choices next to hunt codes. That way, whenever I go to actually do my application, I kind of have it all sort of in one place. But those cheat sheets will be handy, and we'll kind of have a discussion, and we'll probably have a brief run through of how the draw works. And honestly, this is going to be a lot of one-on-one stuff, because everybody's hunt strategy or application strategy is going to be different. So we'll kind of run through a few scenarios on, if you're new to hunting, what kind of hunts might be good, what areas might be good, what species might be good, what weapon you want to focus on. So we're going to kind of go through a kind of a brief overview on that. And we'll kind of figure out maybe what event is going to be the best one to host the hybrid with, depending on our location and such. But we would absolutely love to have any of you guys come and attend and visit and see us in person, of course. Obviously, Jennifer and Stephanie and Tristana are going to have all, the fun together in Albuquerque, but we like to have a good time here in the Southwest area too. So don't forget about us.
Well, here's what's going to be the cool thing about the hybrid is we're going to do it through that cool owl apparatus thing. And so we can all be one big happy family virtually. Even if you're in person in Albuquerque, we can still be communicating with our Southwest people. And if you're in Raton or Clayton or Clovis or who knows where, Pine Hill, you can still be with us. And so
one other thing to add too, if you can't make that event either in person or virtually, you have until March 22nd to get most of your big game draw apps in. Jennifer just mentioned those dates. So for whatever reason you can't make it, or you decide to watch it through our YouTube channel after that event, and you still have questions, we're here to help you out. Between tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to March 22nd at 5 o'clock, all our focus is really going to be on the draw and probably a bunch of hunter's ed classes. So we'll be full throttle draw kind of focused anyway. So whatever questions you guys have, please feel free to reach out to us at any time. That way we can help you get your applications submitted in time, and answer any questions that you might have to help you kind of tee up for the best application strategy, because there is a lot for different folks.
It can be overwhelming. The first few times that I actually sat down and did it myself, I was like, my mind, I thought was going to explode. And then I was so anxious. It's like, oh my gosh, if I click on the wrong hunt code, oh my gosh, what happens if I do this? Oh my gosh. And I was just freaking myself out, and it was not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Because then you start clicking and you're like, there's too many drop-down menus. Oh my gosh.
There's lots of options, and there's lots of changes this year too.
Yeah.
So we want to be sure to, have that clarification for everybody. And we're still trying to wrap our head around a lot of the changes too. So it'll be good practice for us. So we will definitely be sending out kind of some RSVP stuff, and hopefully in that RSVP, ladies, we can add something if you will be attending in person. That way we can appropriately plan for space and get everything set up for anyone who joins us in person.
Yeah, 100%. And if you guys do have any questions at any time, even before, do reach out to us. We're always available to you all. And I know that Colleen and Stephanie are really pretty savvy at reading those draw odds and trying to look at that. By all means, nothing guarantees you any kind of draw at any time, but there are some strategies that those two ladies use on how they kind of apply. I just say, this is what I'm going to do, and throw all cares to the wind. It's basically my strategy.
And if I can add one more thing, if you are really serious about applying for next year and you're brand new to all of it, we have a lot of really good previous episodes that explain a lot of that you can watch those before next month's event, and some other kind of video series. And we're actually going to be coming out with a video series tomorrow that's going to go live through all our social channels and YouTube channel. That way you can see the updated changes. It's a really good kind of fireside podcast kind of chat to give you some info for this year too. So I would highly suggest reading or watching and listening to any of those before you come to the February event.
Awesome. Thanks, Colleen. Has anything else popped up in the chat that I don't want to miss any interactions at all? Anybody have any questions or anything that might have come up for Joni while we're rambling away with draw stuff? And she might, and Joni, you might, since you've kind of gone through the Arizona draw system too, you might have some pointers. So over time, if any of you ladies are thinking about applying for out-of-state hunts, reach out to her. She might be a good resource for Arizona. It's a little different. They have preference points and whatnot, but there are units over there that don't require a lot of points, and or I think they still hopefully might have over the counter. Joni, you can kind of chime on that if you think that those are those over the counter. Do you think they'll be still available next year?
So we do have over the counter deer tags, but we started a new quota system this year that we didn't have before. So that's been a little interesting to navigate, but now you call in for the unit or look online to see if they've met their quota or not. And it runs August through the end of January, which is interesting. It's not the calendar year. So the quotas started getting filled for the August season. Our archery over the counter deer is August, September, and then December, January. And so a lot of the quotas got filled in January, which shut down in December, which shut down the January season. So all the units around me, I should be hunting right now, but I'm not because all the units around me are shut down from quotas. So it's been a little different to navigate this year. Further south, so I'm up north, further south, a lot of the units are still open because they had higher quotas in those areas. But I can certainly try to help someone, navigate that as I'm learning it as well. So.
And javelina, is that over the counter or is that through the draw?
It's through the draw.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Cool. So it's very similar to New Mexico on that. Oh, we do have some over-the-counter javelina here. And I don't know if there's any tags still available, but we will definitely cover all of that during our sessions. So be on the lookout from us on information for that in-person session. But thank you all so very much. Thank you, Joni, so very much for being such an inspiration to so many people. It's just amazing, your journey, and thank you for sharing your knowledge with so many others. And thank you, ladies, also for all your continued support, and for all the new folks that are on with us. Thank you so much for chiming in and taking time out of your busy lives to be here, sharing your comments and your stories and everything. That's what builds these relationships and makes these engaging. Because you definitely don't want to just sit and listen to me for an hour and a half. So thank you all for that. So Tristana or Stephanie, any other parting words before we end our session this evening?
Get out there.
Right. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. Oh, go ahead.
I really did mean, if anybody wants anything, or they want to reach out or ask me further questions, or you have something you didn't want to put in the chat, maybe you have a health issue and you want to know, maybe you have Raynaud's or a lung thing or something similar to mine, and you want to reach out to me and ask me how, what I use to stay in the field or what I do or something like that, feel free to message me through Rockstarlette Outdoors or through my personal page. I'm not shy about that stuff. I'm an open book. You can ask me anything about it. So don't be afraid to contact me.
Thanks, Joni, so much. Well, everybody have a fantastic rest of your evening, a good rest of your week. Like Stephanie said, get out there. And we look forward to seeing everybody in February. Have a good night.